Hey guys, good afternoon. It's Jasvinder. Let me flip this thing around real. Hey guys, how we doing? So, welcome back to another episode of your daily dose of wisdom, inspiration, and motivation. So, as it says in the title, change yourself first and the world will follow. Let's just dive right into it. I'm really excited to get into today's quote, and it actually comes from the Tao Te Ching. So, I want to show this, kind of highlight this for you for a second. The Tao Te Ching. This is the book for me that started it all, because almost 20 years ago, when I was a freshman in high school, so I guess that tells you how old I am. We were doing Chinese history, and we read the Tao Te Ching. That's actually pretty unusual curriculum for a freshman in high school, I know. So we looked at this book, and I fell in love with it, and I've really been studying these materials ever since. But that book started it all for me. It got me on this direction of studying the wisdom teachings of the world. So the quote that I have for you from the Tao Te Ching goes like this. It says, you think the world can be, you want to take over the world and improve it? Do you think you can take over the universe and improve it? I do not believe it can be done. The universe is sacred. You cannot improve it. If you try to change it, you will ruin it. If you try to hold it, you will lose it. So right away I can think of so many just objections to this, right? This idea of not trying to change the world, not trying to improve the world is in no need of improvement. Well, to the casual observer, even to the serious student, it doesn't take much more than pursuing the front page of the news or watching the evening news to think of all kinds of ways the world desperately needs improvement, right? We have problems managing our natural resources. People are killing each other every day. There's all kinds of problems everywhere. You've got sexism in the workplace. You've got institutionalized racism. You've got plague, famine, genocide. Well, why on earth should we not try to improve the world? So, and obviously there are a lot of very responsible and very ancient movements or even world religions that talk about, like in Judaism, there's this concept that's called tikkun olam, to heal the world. And you find the same thing in Buddhism, in Christianity, in Hinduism, you name it. This idea of relieving the suffering of the world. And here he's saying, stop trying to improve the world. And another philosopher said, the only thing the world needs to be saved from is from you trying to save it. Ouch, right? So how do we make sense of this? This is something that confused me for a long time, and it's a hard idea to wrap your head around. I'm sure you're with me on this one. By the way, thanks for tuning in, guys. It's great to have you with me. So what he's talking about here is, where do the problems in the world come from, first of all? Anybody? Where do the problems in the world come from? Let's get some feedback. I know I've seen some people down there at the bottom. What's the source of all the suffering in the world? Okay, any takers? Okay, fine. So the suffering, all the suffering in the world, people are mistreating each other. They're mistreating the environment. They're mistreating everything around them and themselves. Well, what's causing that behavior? We've been talking about this for all week. What's causing that behavior is the person's thinking. Your behavior is just the expression of your mind, your body, your actions. It's just the expression of your mind, your emotions, and so on. How do you change your behavior? By changing your thinking. How do you change the behavior of another person? By changing their thinking. Can you get inside somebody else's head and think different thoughts for them? No, certainly not. So let's take an example of this issue of scarcity. Then we think that there's a scarcity of resources, that there are some who are less fortunate than others. There are haves and have-nots, and a lot of problems in the world that we're trying to fix comes from that. Well, when it comes to things like water and natural resources and coal and fresh water, trees, those things, of course, are limited and they're finite. Do you know that every day there are people who are coming up with ways of expending less resources to accomplish the same things? You may have seen the video on the internet about a city that's being built on the ocean for scientists to conduct research on the ocean that produces no waste whatsoever, and it can house about 7,000 people. The guy who founded 5 Hour Energy is putting all of his money, 99% of his profits, into ways to convert salt water from the ocean into drinking water within a matter of hours. And again, with producing no waste whatsoever. So the issue of resources being scarce is being addressed all the time. But the kind of changes I'm talking about really have nothing to do with, hi Nancy, the changes I'm talking about in the world have nothing to do with resources out there. Now, what am I talking about? Let's take an easy example that anybody can understand, like fitness. So there are some people in the world who are in amazing shape. They're active, they eat right, they look great, they feel great. And there's a lot more people out there who are couch potatoes, they're out of shape, they have heart disease, they have hypertension, their diet is poor, they're immobile. Well, is it reasonable to say that the let's say the obese masses, I don't know what you want to say, the out of shape masses are being exploited by the fit minority, that these people who are in good shape are somehow taking fitness away from the out of shape people for themselves, and there's only so much health to go around, and they're stealing it? Of course not. Being in shape comes from following a certain set of behaviors. Okay, Colleen Palmer 17, what? Okay, well hopefully I can clear this up for you. I'm talking about this issue of scarcity and of abundance, and where positive change comes from. And the idea that there's only so much good to go around, there's only so much we can work with. Well, the fact is that there's no limit on the positive changes we can make in our own lives. But we have to focus on ourselves. It's very hard to help other people if we're not focusing on ourselves first. So when it comes to success, happiness, prosperity, material wealth, it's exactly like being in shape. You don't take from someone else to profit yourself. You improve by changing the way you think, changing the way you act, changing what you believe about the world, changing your standards you hold for yourself. And what happens as a result is your behaviors are now consistent with the behaviors that produce the good that you desire. Just like somebody who gets off the couch, goes to the gym, works out, eats the right food a few times a week, absolutely their health improves. I haven't really encountered any situations on the contrary. So any change that you want to create in terms of refining yourself, refining your character, is well within your reach. There's no fundamental scarcity. Now, when they talk about don't try to change the world is sacred, it cannot be improved, as it says in the Tao Te Ching, well, there's tons of problems in the world, as we've just been talking about. Those problems are created by the decisions of all the people living in the world. We don't necessarily need to change the world, but we need our people who are making more wise decisions. Do you agree? We need people who make more wise decisions, who think long term, who put other people's needs first, who realize the difference between wants and needs. And again, as it says in this very same book, he says, he who knows when enough is enough will always have enough. So we need to refine our character, we need to refine our wisdom. And before we go out there and try to change other people, because if you force somebody to do differently than you, or you impose their beliefs on them, there will only be a temporary change, if anything. Usually there will be resistance and resentment and the exact opposite of the change you tried to accomplish, because someone's outer behavior and their habits is nothing but the reflection of their thinking, and their thinking is completely under their control. You have no control of it whatsoever. But what do you have total control over, and nothing else? The use of your own mind. The faculties of your mind being memory, perspective, willpower, intuition, and imagination. You have complete control over those things. And you can always choose to look at the world more constructively, not finding blame, but seeing other people just to be just like you, that you are infinite consciousness itself. You are in a limitless, eternal power that's clothed itself in matter and subjected itself to time and space and causation. Why? For the sole purpose of experiencing your own self. You have to experience yourself through the journey of going from ignorance to knowledge, from darkness to light, from ignorance to wisdom. This is the only purpose of your existence here, and nobody else, there's no other purpose whatsoever. It's to learn, it's to understand yourself, to come from ignorance to knowledge, and that transformation will destroy all negativities in your behavior, in your beliefs, in how you treat yourself, how you treat others. It will only make you a better human being. And that process has no meaning if someone else does it for you. It can't be done for you. You can't do it for another. You can only do it for yourself. I hope that this idea has served you, has uplifted you, and please contact me on Twitter at J_S_Khalsa, Khalsa, for more information about my one-on-one coaching and what I do outside of these videos. Until tomorrow, have a beautiful day. I love you guys. Bye-bye.